Alright, hello, cheers, Kevin here, and welcome back to Minecraft Agoraphobia, where we've been doing some AFK fishing. Trying to repair our tools. It's a slow and arduous process. That's why you're supposed to be AFK for it. But, anyway, welcome back. Very excited to have you here. I don't want this in my offhand. Let's just pull that out of there and put on our gear. Oh, they're there. Okay. So I have been a little bit busy. This past week and this coming week are pretty heavily scheduled, but still able to pull away some time to work on things. And one thing that I discovered is that our drone is perfectly fine. Let me go ahead and run downstairs, and I guess while I'm doing that, I should also explain, I made a little platform here right below our cobblestone because I decided that where we started to make our inventory system, I actually want to do something different. So I've pretty much cleared that out for right now. But the farm is actually working, and the good news is that our drone is actually fine. So at the end of the final episode of the week, we hit the drone with an analyzer, and the drone slid off of the chest and into the lava. But the drones don't. The drone wasn't an item. You have to hit it with the scrunch. You have to right-click it with the scrunch to turn it into an item. So the drone actually didn't disappear or anything. It was just sitting there in the lava. Of course, as soon as I go ahead and create a new drone and go through some testing and then remove the lava just to verify that stuff is working, well, then of course I notice, hey, look, there's Rosie. So Rosie is here, and Rosie seems to be working just fine. I did, after leaving Rosie alone for a while, get a bit of an error message, and I'm not entirely sure what that's about. If you look here, we are gathering more seeds. We're not gaining as much wheat as we're outputting, so maybe there'll be some tweaking, but we can clearly see by the number of sheep here that we're managing to do some good work. I've been mostly just kind of leaving this alone. At some point, I imagine that the drone is going to fail for some script reason, and we'll try and debug that whenever it happens. But the other thing that I've been up to, so I have great plans for the storage unit, and I want to talk about that in a little while. The other thing, yeah, we're not doing any cobblestone farming because we have plenty of cobblestone right now, because this is a very slow staircase, and yeah, okay, we've got trees chopped down. Oh yeah, I also put together a very little manually harvested sugarcane farm. We don't have any observers, which makes it a little bit, I mean, we could set up a periodic redstone clock to just push things out, I suppose. But, you know, easy enough to also just throw a microcontroller there with a redstone card and send something down the line. So maybe we'll do that. But yeah, the big thing is that it's dark here. We have this wall, and this wall, believe it or not, is entirely complete. Not only is it a wall, it is a ceiling. It may look like that's open. Depending on how my video settings are, there can be a little bit of a glow. Let's turn up the render distance, and let's see. Okay, it should be fairly clear now. There is a cobblestone ceiling over there, so our chunk is now entirely enclosed. And of course, now I'm going to turn that video setting way back down to, I don't know, 10 chunks seems reasonable enough to me. And yeah, if we look up now, it's glowy and weird. So yeah, we now have this entire chunk to work with, and this used to be outside. It's no longer outside. I've gone ahead and lit it up, which means that we have a ton of space where we can start building iron farms and mob farms and all sorts of different things. The question is kind of, what do we start on? What are we going to be doing? What are all the things we want to focus on? And I guess in the midst of that is the question of how rapid of progress can we really hope or expect to make? I have been putting in a ton of time to get the episodes kind of up to now out, and the pace is a little bit extreme to be sustainable for me with a full-time job and whatnot. So I think we're probably going to be making a little bit less progress per episode, which also means I'll be having to edit a lot less, because generally these episodes have been something like 3 hours cut down to, you know, a half an hour or something like that. And I don't know why I'm sleeping, just I guess for the heck of it. I think we're going to try and get less done per episode and still try and keep the pace. If that doesn't work out, then maybe we'll try and change the maybe we'll try and change the pace, the release schedule, and do less things. I made another drone, as I mentioned, because I thought that our drone was dead, but our drone is fine. So yeah, there we go. We've got a whole bunch of EE problems that I crafted up. Lots of stuff to do. So one of the things that I've been working on right now, lately, is, yeah, I have new ideas for our inventory system, and let me talk about that. So our inventory system that we had was fairly standard manual-ish type of system that we were just using a robot to go ahead and sort through. Thinking through some of that, and it'd actually be a lot easier to just have a drone go through and grab stuff, because the drone can move multiple squares and it doesn't have to worry about entities and all of that stuff. So maybe we'll switch over to that. But the big thing is, hey, why do we need that to be accessible at all? I would like to set up an inventory system that can do a couple of things. And we've got some signs. Why not? Yeah. Well, let's create a squad goals list here. No, inventory goals. Yeah. So the goals for the inventory system is one. Let's see. I can request. Can request items to pick up to a pickup location. There we go. So I can request items to a pickup location, meaning I don't have to go around and grab things from the chests or remember where the chests are or look at the item frames. I just want to say, hey, I want 3 cobblestone and 4 coal, and then it should go ahead and put it in some sort of pickup location. It doesn't necessarily need to bring those things to me, but it should at least be able to put it in a location. Other thing is, can automatically put things away. And we had a semi-working solution for that, but it wasn't the best, and I think we can do better. Let's see, another thing, yeah, and then I would also like to say minimizes space, and then maybe eventually, oh, we're out of signs. All right, that's all the goals that we're allowed to have. Let's go ahead and craft up another sign. There we go. Boom. And, oh, geez, what am I doing here? Okay, yeah, I hear you, zombies. I hear you. Okay. You know what, let's make more. Well, we can't anyway. Never mind. Okay. Yeah, so I want this to minimize the amount of space. It should be able to automatically put things away. And ideally, I would like to compress. That's how you spell compress, right? Right, compress resources. So, redstone, e.g., redstone to redstone block. Right? There's no reason for us to be storing redstone as redstone. We can store it as a block and then craft it into redstone. If I ever say, hey, I need 3 redstone, it can go ahead and store things in our storage unit as blocks, and that'd be great. The last thing that I want to do is to let for known crafting recipe. Well, so yeah, autocraft autocraft available recipes. So instead of saying, hey, I want redstone, I should be able to say, I would like 3 redstone torches. Now, of course, we could also say, I mean, we should automatically put things away. So if we have redstone torches to spare, great. But if not, it'll go ahead and try and craft it and then throw it in some sort of pickup chest. Okay, so to do all of that, we're going to need something pretty complex. We're going to need to be able to sort a whole bunch of different items and organize them in a particular way. And I think I've got an idea in mind. Let me pop over into the creative world and we'll take a look. Nope, one more feature. Funnels, farmed resources. All right, resources into storage. I don't like the way I had to line break that. But yeah, they're just being that, hey, that cobble farm, hey, that, I don't know, what was it? Sugarcane farm, all of the farms. I don't want to have to pick up stuff from those. And I don't want to have, ideally, I don't want to have a separate bot worry about those either. I just want to toss everything into the storage system automatically. So we'll have to figure out exactly how that's going to go. Okay, let's take a look at the design. Okay, so here is what I am thinking for our storage system. I've kind of bordered out this chunk, and the idea is that everything is going to have a row and a column and then a height, right? So we'll say, and basically the computer can decide where we're going to store all this stuff. I mean, I don't particularly care, but maybe column 1, row 4, vertical height 4 is the place where we store blocks of diamonds. And so then rather than what we were doing before, we were saying, all right, go ahead and loop through every single chest and check what's in it and say, hey, am I carrying that? If so, I'm going to put stuff in. We'll go ahead and say that we actually have to remember where things are. We'll actually have to store that as data, and basically we'll assign chests as materials come in. So initially, this is kind of the storage unit where we will never actually go. We'll have a drone or a robot that kind of goes through, picks stuff up, takes it back up, and vice versa. Or puts things away. The plan is that initially none of these will be assigned, and we'll never actually label them. We'll just save them in some sort of data format. But when the drone gets some item that it needs to store that it doesn't have a place for, it's going to go ahead through its list and say, all right, well, what's the next available chest? And, well, that becomes the chest that we're going to use for that thing. Of course, we will need to eventually add some sorts of rules to say, hey, I don't ever want more than 5 chests of cobblestone or something like that. But that's stuff that we can worry about as the needs arise. The other, just real quick to touch on this, the reason we're not using double chests is simply because it allows us the most flexibility. If we had a double chest, then that's going to mean there's 2 access points for this, and so we'd really want to stack 2 double chests together and blah blah blah. What we want is the absolute most flexibility, and there is only 1 square via which each of these chests can be accessed by a robot. That is. So I think this maximizes the available different slots that we can get to. And yeah, so we'll have to write some functions like, okay, so go to the appropriate row is going to not be just a matter of going to that width. It's going to be a matter of figuring out which aisle to go down and whatever. And then we'll have to, or I guess column, not row, whatever. Yeah, so figuring out the column is going to have to be a little bit of an interesting function. And then figuring out the row is going to be pretty straightforward. We'll just hop up or down this axis once we're in the right trench. And then we'll just go up or down to the right amount, etc. Now, my thinking is that on top of this, we'll have sort of a layer. We need at least 1 space because the drone needs to be able to get over these. I think we're going to end up using a drone for this, just to make things simple. And I think then we could also throw, millions of drones at this eventually. Let's just stone. I don't know. If we throw, sure, chiseled. No, not a monster egg. Thank you. If we throw. Okay, this is going to take too long. But the idea, okay, and actually we need the space above it anyway. Right. So the drone, we could, in theory, have a charger in one of these. A charger. Yeah, so we'll have a charger here. Oh, nope, there. And so the drones could basically hang out, and I think actually that charging does work diagonally, which would mean that a drone could theoretically hang out, and then we could have a hopper there. Just plop that I mean, I don't particularly care that this is accurate. I think it's pointing in the wrong direction. But drones could, when they're idling, come over to here. Then as soon as anything ends up in that hopper, things will fall down. And the drone's job is just to get things and put them in the right location. We'll probably have to do some network communication because I think this is going to be certainly even just storing kind of the addresses of every item is going to be more than we want to necessarily rely on the drone for. But because they're entities, we should be able to say, hey, I want 16 drones here, right? And they can just be little worker bees putting stuff away, taking stuff out, all of that wonderful stuff. Okay. So then the idea that I have is I actually want the front of the store to look, the front of our storage area to look a little bit interesting because I have this idea in my head. And I'd love to know your suggestions. This is really more of just a coming up with designy type episode because I don't know. My brain is too frazzled to go, hey, I immediately want to go ahead and write some complex program. But I have this idea of, and this reminds me of occasionally if you go to certain supply stores, you're going to, or like industrial supply stores to buy I don't know, say plumbing equipment or something. I don't know, whatever it happens to be. You'll see that they have like these long rows and stuff behind, or even workbenches behind. But then they have, it's almost like an armory, right? So you'll have something like this. Or I mean, I suppose at a particularly security-minded bank or post office, you could even see things like this, where it's basically, they have this whole thing kind of locked off. And your only means of interacting is to kind of go up to this. This is not looking as nice as I want it to look. But your only means of interacting to get the stuff that you want to... You're not going through a store. You're saying, hey, I need this part. And somebody here at some sort of desk... let's get a half slab. Slab. Salb. No, not the salb. All right. Somebody here at some sort of desk sits around and takes your order... and goes in the back. Other places, hardware. Sometimes paint suppliers. It's the same thing. You go in, you hand them the swatches. You're like, I need this, and they'll be like, all right, I'll go in the back, and then they walk over there. But the actual customer space is very small. This is vaguely what I want to have. I want to have our kind of our access is going to be to come down into, and I basically, because our slaughterhouse and wheat farm related to the slaughterhouse are things we should never have to go see. I would like this to be kind of the quote unquote bottom of our base. I want to come into a place like this and say, all right, I need equipment, and maybe eventually we could have something that actually ferries stuff up. I got some ladders, and yeah, I need to come up with. I need to develop some design skills, but basically I want this to be the bottom of our base. Of course, this inventory system is stacked underneath it. And then we'll have some sort of computer terminal and maybe a chest. And all we do is we go up, we open the computer terminal, we say, hey, I'm going to select that I need these items and of these quantity, and I'll say go. And then the stuff will go ahead and pop out. I can go ahead and pick it up and done. Now, of course, one day we could eventually improve this with ender chests. That could be perhaps even more fun. And my thinking is that back here, if we imagine this as sort of a scaled down version of what this chunk actually is, let's just bring up a little bit of walls to make it look somewhat decent. That we can have crafting going on here. So crafting is something I don't want to rely on the drones to do, and I don't think the drones actually can do that anyway. They just don't have the inventory slots. We have something like this, and we can decorate this to look nice. So we could have, say, a crafting bench, and I guess So we assumed that there was going to be some sort of hopper in the floor somewhere, right? We already implied that, assuming that that's the same as over there. So you have some sort of hopper where we throw everything, and then the drones below are responsible for storing it. And we have some sort of crafting and anvil thing maybe here. In theory, we could also even make it we could put an enchanting table here and make enchantments something that are part of the sort of the workshop area. And And I don't know, let's make a villager egg, actually. Yeah, let's grab a spawn villager. And if I put up, let's just put this here. And then I think that village, well, actually, no, I think that villager could get out. But yeah, this is basically, we come down and we'll come up and we'll say, hey, I need X, Y, and Z. And I'll go, all right. And we could put some villagers back here for fun, I guess, if we wanted to. And they'll go about crafting up all the stuff and throw it back to us. And of course, in the meantime, we can also throw any inventory that we have no need for. Or I suppose we could even have a garbage chute kind of elsewhere, where, you know, throughout our base, where we could throw things, you know, as the need arises. Yeah. Okay. So I like this idea. I don't entirely like the design. I've got to put some thinking to that. And if you have ideas, because I'm not a particularly great builder of things, please let me know. The one other thing to consider, maybe even as an enhancement to this, is that we could leave some additional space for villager trading. Because I think that is something. Let's look at the upgrades. I think that is something that you can do. There's an upgrade for villager trading. Navigation upgrade, solar tank. Yeah, trading upgrade. Yes. Okay, so that's probably the case then. We probably do want to leave even more extra space for men. All right. Well, that did not keep the villager where they were supposed to be. I mean, we'll probably interact with a computer terminal anyway. But yeah, okay. So I like this idea. Yeah, it does mean maybe we do want to leave yet more space above for villager stuff. I mean, it's not the end of the world. If we build the storage unit and then we build this on top of it, and then we decide, hey, we want to actually add villager trading on top of that, then, you know, no big deal. We can go ahead and just move this layer up. Okay. So this is becoming a little more clear in my mind now that I'm talking it out and using you all as guinea pigs for that. Now, of course, I have actually laid out the resources that I will need to fill up the actual storage area down here, which, I don't know, we may want to redesign, although we may not care, because in theory, we should never have to go there, right? I want this to be the underground layer that we never have to mess with. So this is where we're at so far. We have 4.5 stacks of regular chests. We have a stack and a third of trap chests. I've been farming trees and then also just trying to, AFK fishing in the meantime, because it helps us get some tripwire hooks. We need 7 stacks and 56 of each to fill up kind of this whole thing, or not this whole thing, but yeah, down there. I did move. Basically, this is everything that had been in our storage system. So you see, we're clearly nowhere near what we're going to put down here. Now, obviously, we'll have to clear some of that stuff out of the way as well. Move a whole bunch of stuff upward. I think I do like this idea, though, just generally speaking, of trying to keep the underground being the area where we don't have to go. That we should never have to come down here and do maintenance, because it is just the underground area where we manage resources and whatnot. And I think that once we have an inventory system that's sort of self-managing, it will free up a lot of my time, because certainly we won't have to go resource hunting. We will be able to do some of the stuff that's been suggested, like creating bots that dig for us and gather resources that way. Definitely can create some additional farms. And okay, so I'm thinking through as well, the one other factor here is we've talked about the idea of having a robot passageway that relies on a sticky piston and an observer. The challenge is that we don't get observers until we go into the Nether, which we really need a pretty beefed up, we need a beefed up drone to do. And even then I'm iffy about it. If that is assuming that we want to go in there and build a wall around ourselves, so that we're trying to play by the rules of Minecraft Agoraphobia and stay indoors. But eventually, we have this one corner, which is how we get up and down throughout the base. Although I don't know if we want to keep that. I feel like it's certainly efficient, but it's maybe not the most fun way of doing things. Maybe at some point we want to start building layers that just have, you know, stairs and ladders in random places. We don't particularly care that, you know, if it takes us a long time to get from the very top of things to the very bottom of things. But anyway, let's assume that this corner is sort of spoken for. The assumption as well is that back here, kind of all the way up our chunk, we have power lines. So this corner is spoken for also. That does leave two corners, and I'm thinking, one of them can be the robot passageway, and that leaves one more corner, and maybe we just make sure that that is entirely open, so that items can fall down into the storage unit. The only potential problem with that is that if the items veer off at all, then particularly up in the sky, they could end up not falling into here at all. I think you can force things to fall down correctly using cobwebs, but obviously that slows them down. So we'll have to figure that out if that's feasible. But that would give us the option of saying, hey, we're going to have a disposal system, you know, right here where I just say, you know, I'm going to chuck stuff in. We're going to assume that it's always going to fall down all the way to rock bottom. Oh, maybe. Ooh, hang on. Now I have a thought, which is a dangerous thing. Maybe we just have, you know, instead of having a disposal system, maybe we just always say, hey, here is where we can potentially have a garbage chute, and there'll be a chest here, or maybe even a chest in this block. And then we can, you know, hide the mechanism for actually getting stuff into that chest. And then have this be another robot passageway, but since the robots don't actually ever need to get in or out, they can come up, remove the chest, and go up and down. So sort of like an old-timey, like old-timey apartments and stuff where they had actual separate staircases where you could put your garbage. I mean, I guess more like a dumbwaiter service, right? I think that's actually a neat idea, and that might be a way to avoid us ever having to go down to the armory, or I don't know what exactly to call kind of what I have in my mind. But if you do, please let me know. So I know this has been a lot of rambling, and it's a lot of farming. But hey, I need to gather wood at some point. Also, we should go about writing a drone tree harvesting program. Maybe a drone, maybe a robot. Not entirely sure. Probably. Yeah, we could be lazy and just use a robot, I think, right? We can afford to do that. But if you have thoughts, and yeah, definitely getting microcontroller program to do this, which is really just using a redstone card and periodically putting out a signal that throws that all into there. But of course, we don't want things to throw into there. We'll want to eventually throw them into that garbage chute. Oh, though I guess that. All right. So as I said, lots to think about. I'm eager to hear kind of your thoughts. I know this is kind of a very different episode because I'm really just catching up and getting my own thoughts in order as far as what we're going to be focusing on. I've got a lot of sort of AFKing to get some tripwire hooks. Of course, we could build some. Yeah, of course, now it looks like that's open. It's not. But yeah, I've got a lot of AFKing to do so that we can start building up that inventory system. And then I think we'll probably try and tackle that as sort of the next big thing, just because I want to have that really locked down. Of course, if the planting drone breaks down, we can figure out what's going on there, because that's one that we need just to work all the time, or we'll start running out of power, and that's not great. Rambling, lots and lots of rambling this episode, not really accomplishing anything other than, yeah, getting my thoughts a little cleared. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what you're looking forward to in this series, because it's always helpful to help me figure out what I should be doing. And as always, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Cheers.